Hey, what's up? What is up? What is up, single guy, single human being in the live stream? How are you? Oh, we got 4. We just escalated. Should just escalated here. Go up, we got 10. My goodness. Yo. Thanks, Jack. It's great to be back. Yo. So one of the things that you guys are talking about, I've gotten several emails in the comments in recent videos, are discussions about, mentions about the seeds that are coming in from China. I don't think we really know exactly what's going on with that. It could be a lot of things. At the highest level, it could be real or not real. At the level after that, it could be not really China and look like it's China. Underneath that, there's a layer that it could be a threat that's actual. They could be sending like cantaloupe seeds. Invasive species of something that's a genetically modified organism that'll be designed to destroy crops or something, right? And this is something that a lot of people have talked about and speculated on. And I think it's a great point because the when that is brought up, what about the seeds? What about these Chinese seeds, right? It demonstrates the reality that you are focused on seeds and you are not focused on yourself, on how you interface to the world and what, you know, how you are the linchpin of all of this stuff. Like you, the individual, the human being, is the linchpin. You are the focus of all of the destabilization, and your reaction and influencing your reaction is paramount in achieving the ends of world government. Likewise, in order to achieve world government, requires people to rule over. And so you can't, you know, you're no good if you're dead. You got to be here, and you got to be compliant, right? You can't die. If you die, you can't be ruled over, and then it's, you know, that's not world government, right? And in the current paradigm, the current false paradigm, the public paradigm, the public narrative, you are at the center of that. Everything is placated to as the individual. It's the way that you are delivered weapons against you is through the conception that, you know, it's about me. The how does my state, you know, represent me? What is in my interest? How much of a stimulus check can I get? Who can I vote for? All these things have in common that you are at the center of it. So it is, I mean, it is about us, right? Like it is a self-centered thing in that way. But what is actually important is not the service from something else external to ourselves, but the service to ourselves from ourselves. In that way, our place in existence is self-centered in the manner in which we relate to everything else around us. And when people are focused on seeds, right? Like you don't have no fucking control over seeds, right? If China is sending seeds to the United States, and I'm not saying that they are, I don't know. Because right now you have a giant, confusing, like war campaign going off against you, war by other means. And you don't have any ability to have any kind of effect on it, right? We want to have effect on it by talking about it, right? To try to lift up the curtain and see behind it and see who the bad guy is. But the reality is that if you can lift up a curtain, you just flip it up, and then you can instantly, ha, gotcha, motherfucker, and you saw the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. You're not gonna be able to do anything because you're one person, and you're not gonna be able to rely on society to do anything, because when you took your account of who the Wizard of Oz is, and you take it to other people, not only are they not going to believe you, but then once they do believe you and accept that is in fact the Wizard of Oz, when they try to do something, they're going to be completely inundated and tied in to the system that the Wizard of Oz is conducting, because he is the engineer of the orchestra. And so what I'm saying is that what you would find in these in the examination of the seeds, it really isn't important, because you already know that you're going to war with China, and it'll get there any way that it has to go. It's just going to arrive there, right? The only thing that could stop it is if everybody knows that the war with China has been made for them by men, and that it's not necessary to fight. And only by everybody knowing that would you be able to have any chance to get out of it. Now, that's not going to happen, because people don't work that way. And so everybody's going to believe the war in China, and they're all going to go there, and then you're going to be, subjected to whatever legal extension comes out of that, about how they want to grab you and swallow you and your kids and send them into the war with China, because they're going to believe in it, and they're going to believe it's a reflection of their nation, and that it's their people, the American people, that are manifesting the war and perpetuating the war after it started. And none of those things are true. It's not America. But the people that are affected won't know that, just like they won't know that they don't stand a chance fighting the Wizard of Oz, right? As individuals. But what you do have control over in all that time that you're looking at seeds is thinking of how you interface with society in terms of your needs. Because if you have needs that society fulfills at this point, because society is inundated and completely consolidated in its chain of logistics and how they arrive to your door and into your belly and into your home for you to live another day, they have a lot of middlemen and a lot of regulatory control, the entire chain by which resources are brought to you. And what that does, in effect, is it makes you automatically a danger to yourself and a danger to everyone else around you, because you have only one choice, and that choice is to suffer the consequence of not having the resources that are brought to you. Or to get them yourself, for yourself. And that's really like your only choice. And so like once this conflict starts in whatever order of operations or shape that it takes, you have the element of internal conflict in the United States between neighbors, man to man, civil war. You have the external facet of it, which would be an external war with China or South American nations, whatever's to come. Regardless of the situation, whatever comes, you are a danger to yourself because you take from the hand. Because every time that you take from the hand, you empower the hand. And because people make the assumption that they're going to be strong enough to have moral resistance against immorality and a imposition of tyranny against them, right? But the reality is that you have tyranny perpetuated against you right now And people view it like a resource. They view tyranny like a resource. And so when we're, like when we're going to grocery stores and we look at it like we have selection, what's really going on is that you have a less of a selection than what's really out there. The phenotypes of food that are in the store are extremely limited. They're monoculture. They're compromised in terms of their genetic redundancy. They're vulnerable to disease and pest. They're vulnerable to the logistics chain of how they arrive into your shopping cart. They're compromised in so many. They're compromised in nutrient content. What's actually the food? All these things are compromised, and we view it like when we go to the grocery store like it's some kind of convenience, as if it's more convenient for you to go get in a car and drive miles to go get something from somebody else and exchange your time and energy that you spent working for someone else and not for yourself, only to get some ones and zeros so that then you can drive, go to the store, get something that you don't know what it is and you don't know what's in there or what method they use. And the amount of time that all that takes and energy all that takes, we look at that like it's great to have choices, but it's the opposite, And anyone who grows food knows this. You typically have, at max, most of the time, you have about like 3 phenotypes of like a given food in a grocery store. You get garlic. You go to the store and get some garlic. You're going to be getting like an artichoke or some kind of long-lasting, long shelf-life garlic. You're not even going to get a hardneck. Well, hardnecks are about 8/10 of the phenotypes of garlic. So you're missing out on about 80% of the food that's out there, and then you're only getting two to three phenotypes out of the 2 types of long shelf life garlic. The other hardnecks, there's hundreds of them. There's literally hundreds, and you don't ever see any of those for like people that have been alive from when we were industrialized and consolidated until now. There are a lot of those people who never fucking saw or ate any of those garlics, but they felt like when they went to the store that they were really getting like a good choice on some garlic. So this is what I mean. Like the reality that you're in is kind of deceptive in terms of mistaking actuality for an abstract ideal that doesn't exist. And so to focus on the seeds, which is something that you can't control, you spend the time focusing on that and the mental energy of like your decision making. Like, let's say that China is weaponizing seeds and sending the United States is going to destroy agriculture. Like, what can you do about it? You can't do shit, right? They're sending motherfuckers in the mail all over the fucking place. You can encourage Congress to make a law. And in all reality, probably the people that would influence Congress are probably connected to the same people that are causing, if it is Chinese, causing the Chinese to even fucking come up with this idea to send you fucking seeds in the first place, right? Because if that's what they're doing, that's kind of a novel idea in terms of running weapons against people, right? In a nation-state conflict. It's kind of a novel new idea. Well, it's probably, there's nothing that you're going to do about it. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's definitely nothing you can do about it there. What you can do, you could have had a greenhouse by now that's closed off from the elements and not exposed to wild food. You could have cold frames and raised beds and be making your own food. All that shit, they're not going to fucking stop you from doing it if you really want to. Right? It's just a small point. I mean, I know that it's critical. I know it seems like a critical point. It's not. I'm not being critical of you. I'm just saying this is, think about it, right? The reason I think that there's an underlying current here with the concern about seeds, which is apparent, and that would be that people are thinking, when they look at these seeds, they're thinking about the possibilities of China dropping weaponized, genetically modified plants that are invasive in order to destroy crops or introduce diseases. They're looking at this and they're going, man, if that happened, we'd be in serious trouble. And that would be correct. That is the correct way to look at it. And the place that you should go with that is not the, well, we need to hit China harder or whatever, or we need to pass some law to defend against seeds that China wants to send over here. That is, although you should defend against it, but it shouldn't be like the primary extension of what should be thought about when you consider the potential damage that it could cause, right? The catastrophe that it could cause in society. The logical extension is, why are we so vulnerable? The logical extension is asking, is there something seriously fucking wrong here that I would even be worried about this in terms of its effect on society? And the truth is that you're absolutely vulnerable. You're absolutely vulnerable in every single facet, from water to food to energy to fucking infrastructure to transportation. Everything that you produce that is inundated by the control paradigm of economics has been consolidated and has tight regulatory control, and you're all holding each other hostage by agreeing to placate to the system and accept it as legitimate. Every time that you're going, yeah, that's right, we check the box on that one, and things are really in order here. Well, they're not really in order. I mean, they aren't in order. It's not your order. It's not in your interest. And that is the reason that you're starting to feel a little bit worried about the idea that maybe China could be sending some weaponized seeds here, because you come to the realization that your food could be wiped out, right? And that you're incredibly vulnerable. Now, it shouldn't be that way, and it's not naturally that way. It's become that way because people, not just in the United States, but many places in the world, have permitted strangers to that they don't elect and that don't represent them and don't even live in the places that they live, to completely reorganize their societies and grow, nothing at all but fucking bean and corn for miles and miles and miles, as far as you can fucking see. Now, if you don't understand why that's not a good idea, then I guess that's just the way that it is. But it's not a good idea, and the concern about Chinese seeds, that's what it's all about. Because in the back of your head that what we got going on here is a bad idea. Now, the potential consequence of this bad idea and how it could possibly shake out is very detrimental to your safety. It's not really, it's almost unimaginable to think of the way that people behave when they don't have resources that they need in order to survive. So when we're talking about society as a collective and pockets of society and groups going through periods without access to resources that they require in order to live, like food and water, it brings something out in people under that kind of stress that is a different side of a person. And not only will it push a person to do things that they would never normally do in order to survive, but it will cause them to rationalize what they're doing because they need to survive, right? Because when you're saying, like, I have to survive, and this other person wants to survive too, but I have to survive, it becomes a situation where you have an equal balance of responsibility in your survival. And the only thing that tips the balance is actual morality and ethic. Actual reason that is more powerful than your hunger or your thirst and your sense of self-preservation to decide, I'm not going to steal from this other person so that they starve to death, right? I'm not gonna take from someone else so that they suffer the consequences of my predicament in order that I live. If you don't have ethic or morality, then that is not going to exist. And then it becomes the equation of I eat or I die, and if this other person also eats or they die. Well, we're both people, and we both need to eat, and I want to eat because I don't want to die, and so I win, right? And that is the place that society has been brought to, by training it with money to think about the self, and to train it to discard all of its higher principles and ethics and beliefs that would be far more powerful than anything in the physical world if they had a connection to the spiritual world. But it's, for the most part, in many places, for many people, has been culled from them, from their mind. And that is the reality. And the United States is extremely vulnerable in many ways, in all ways, extremely vulnerable. And you're so vulnerable, that's the reason that you are compelled to follow the control paradigm directives, whether it's put on a fucking mask, close down your business this day, open it this day, follow this law, even though it's against your constitution that you can easily observe and deduce is illegal, and people will still follow it. Not only will they follow it, they'll shoot you if you don't. Maybe not directly, maybe not the moment that you refuse, but when they try all the different methods to get you to follow the control paradigm in whatever facet we're discussing, and if you stand up enough and if you refuse enough, it will come to violence in any regard that you consider. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a fucking traffic ticket. It doesn't matter if we're talking about an ordinance against collecting rainwater. It doesn't matter. If you stand up against it long enough, you're going to a cage or you're going in the ground. And that's it. And that's it. That's the only way. But it's not really the only way. It's actually no way at all. But there is a way that is the real way. And it's a way for everybody. That's all I want to... And that's all I have to say about that. I love you guys. Have a good day.